Prepare for war with bats of war, warships, Warhammer, Warfest. Like it or not, be you a pathetic peace-loving, kale-munching, vegan, limp-wristed wuss or a tyrannical, baby-killing, puppy-stomping warmonger. Either which way, war is what happens when your neighbor, or you, start to look rather appetizing to each other. And you crave those borders more than you crave another futuristic cocaine injection in your brain. So, how do you go about doing war, as that stupid Hobbit movie once said? First then, you must know that in Stellaris there's basically two types of empires which do war slightly differently. One that requires you to claim systems to acquire them after the war is done, by which I mean the loser's way and the right way. Starting then off with the wrong way to do the war. Now, for some reason, no matter what empire you play besides the total war ones, which is the right way, to initiate the war, yes, you can skip claiming territory if you want to do defensive war or just simply humiliate someone. Still, otherwise, to gain a system through war, a claim has to be issued. This claiming system is basically a pecking order for the empires who take part in the war. Say there are 3 empires taking part in the war, 2 versus 1. Afterwards, the captured system with most claims will go to that particular empire. Or if it's equal, then it will be given to the capturee. Frankly speaking, Epic still contemplates the validity of this annoying system when there's only 2 empires left in the galaxy, but far be it for me to question Paradox's infinite logic. Anyways, you claimed and chosen your war goal. Good, you begin. Next important things you have to keep an eye out for is war exhaustion. The more losses your empire incurs as well as more time spent in the war, the more exhaustion you will accumulate. The higher the number, the more likely it is that the war will automatically end. Yes, it just can't go forever like the Cold War. So making sure that your exhaustion is lower than your enemies is a good way to dictate the flow of combat, and it's a key to make last-ditch captures and forcing your enemy to accept the end and the loss of the war. The next detail you need to keep an eye out is the occupation, which basically indicates the percentage of your or your opponent's territory and planets occupied. As I mentioned earlier, you need to capture the systems you have claimed before they get added to your empire at the end of the war, otherwise they will remain your opponents. After that, the important 3 buttons here are achieve war goals, which is exactly what it means. You have done what you set out to do, be that humiliate, conquer, or completely obliterate someone, like good Mexican food obliterates your prostate in case of total war empires. Settle for status quo. This one's kinda misleading as you can partially lose or win, like taking over a few systems that you claim, but not all. When settling, these would be appropriately taken or given. And the last one, sir. Oh god, I'm not French enough to say sir. Basically, this option, even if you have occupied something from your enemy, it's given all back. Depending on what your opposing sides has chosen for war goals, they win that too. So safe to say, this is the most useless button in the game that I know of and only ever picked by a mistake. I honestly truly pity the developer who had to make it. I bet the poor guy is still scrubbing off the shame. Anyways, now that you know the overall idea of the war, here's the details. In order to start the war, certain actions must be taken. For conquering war goal, you have to have claimed the system before you can actually start. For humiliation, you have to have a bad or negative relations with the target. For players though, this is ignored and always available. For subjugation, that is to make your opponent a tributary or vassal, certain diplomatic actions have to be taken. That is, first you have to tell them that like a little good bitch, they have to become a vassal or give a good tribute willingly. If they refuse, which is a more likely case, your pimp hand can come out and smack a bitch. However, for total war empires, i.e. the only proper best way to play Stellaris in Yamix's mind, there is no claim system. You just roll up, declare war for really the only thing that you can, which is either assimilation or extermination. Unlike other empire types, Total War empires have this unique and awesome feature of just straight up popping into system, destroying any resistance, and the territory is automatically added to you. No claims, no war goals, no nonsense. Just hop in, hello, smack upside the head, and this is all mine now. However, just like all the other empires, there's still just one thing left, the second most useless feature from the old Stellaris, the armies. You see, whenever you roll into a system that has an inhabited planet on it, you won't be taking it or occupying it until you occupy or destroy the planet. For this, there are, well, 4 ways to dealing with it. Number 1, you orbital bombard the shit out of it. This will destroy any useful buildings on the planet and will take needlessly long time, so for all practical reasons, best be avoided. Number 2, you build a planet-destroying super weapon like a mustache-twirling villain. Go around death-starring your neighborhood. This also will take needlessly long time and is very end game. Number 3, you abduct all the pops for the planet, making it uninhabited and automatically capture the system after that. And number 4, send in the fucking Marines. Warning, it's boring time! So, first you need to build useless ships with armies. Preferably go for the closest inhabited planet. Under Armies tab, just start building ships. If their numbers exceed the planet's defense numbers, you will take it. So, once you have enough armies built, just send them to land on a planet and invade it. Oh, and you can't shift right-click this, because armies will only land on the last planet on the queue move. Again, this is just one of the oldest Stellaris mechanics, and I still to this day don't understand why, say, your normal ships couldn't work like the army ships. But hey, maybe one day we'll see a change, right, Paradox? Please? Anyways, mind you that army ships are completely defenseless, so even a stray fart will break them. Still, when you finally approach the planet and your armies are landing, it will take some time for them to weed out the opposition, but by far this is the fastest way to take the planet. Well, mostly intact. With Total War Empires, this generates either resources, pops, or science. But boy, is this the most bothersome part of the war! And that's about it on how war is done. The specifics on what the best way to attack or defend I'll leave up to you, but here are 3 free tips for you. Number 1. Build strike craft filled choke point defense stations. Strike crafts are incredibly powerful, unlike other defensive builds. Number 2. Sun Tzu says, never attack at an equal strength. Always crush puny man ballsack with sledgehammer. Also, mincemeat make good burgers. Number 3. Later in game, watch out for systems with wormholes or gates in them. And much like with smugglers, you'll be regretting not checking that dirty hole. And that's about it. It generally takes time to get used to these mechanics, but overall it's my favorite part of the gameplay. Usually my strategy is to start a war with someone, then just wait until they exhaust themselves against my defense stations, and then, with 100% exhaustion, I roll in and take as many systems as I can. And if at any point it seems like I might lose, I quickly settle for status quo or achieve my goals, saving most of my army in the process. I mean, okay, it's a kind of a scummy tactic, but hey, save scumming is a legit thing too, so anything goes. So, if this helps you out, do subscribe, check out the other Stellaris videos I've made, and more so if you want to support the great exterminatus or bats of war, consider becoming a patron. All the wonderful links down in the description. Now, on to the war!